everybody, I'm Moto Pilot, and behind me is the 1980 Honda CB650 we're converting into a bobber. And when I'm done with this bike, I'm giving it away to one of our supporters over at Patreon. If you want to qualify to win the bike, head over here, sign up to win. For as little as $1 per video, you can qualify to win. Let's take a quick look at what we're going to do first on the bike today. In the previous video where I did all the hand controls, I put all these stock controls back on here and over here. You can see they're kind of bulky. We have this gap right here that's not sexy at all. The biggest problem I have with it is it's not very simple and old school. And look at all this wiring involved with these controls. You have this harness here, and then over on the throttle side we have this harness coming down to this. And it's just making this whole front end very cluttered, and it's going to make the wiring harness really bulky because we're going to rewire this whole bike. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take this off. I'm going to take this off. I'm going to replace this throttle with a universal throttle. That'll be much more compact. And then there's some other details we're going to get on this thing today, and we'll just talk about those when we get to them. And real quick, I'm going to show you guys the rest of my collection of bikes here. Not that you came here to see this, but in case you're curious, this is my 2016 Suzuki GSX-S 1000F. Basically, it's a GSX-R with more comfortable handlebars. This right here is like my workhorse bike. I ride it every day to work. I just rode it to Laguna Seca and back from Southern California for the World Superbike race. It's a good all-around bike. This is my pride and joy, my 2016 RSV4 Aprilia. Love this bike. Craziest sounding, fastest, most exciting bike I've ever ridden in my whole life. And then this right here is my 1997 Harley Davidson Fat Boy that I did a video series on, converting this into a bobber, which I love this bike too. It's so much funner to ride now. Anyhow, that's that. Let's get these hand controls dialed. Also, I want to mention this video series is sponsored by Tucker.com. These guys are supplying me with most of the parts for this build. And Speed and Strength, they're giving away a full set of riding gear if you win this bike. Head to toe riding gear. And so big thanks to both these guys for supporting my build series once again. All right guys, before I get started on the bike, I want to get your opinion on something. I built the exhaust recently and I have come up with another idea for it, and I want you guys to leave a comment which one you like best. Check them out. All right, so right now we have just a straight exhaust and it's on both sides of the bike, and so take that in right there, and then I'm going to show you my option. Okay, so here is option number 2. You can see I put an upsweep on it, and honestly I could really go either way. Some people think it should go in line with the frame, and I kind of agree. But to do that, I'd have to bend a piece of pipe that I don't have right now. So let me know in the comments, straight pipe, upsweep pipe, let me know what you think. First thing I'm going to do is take off the clutch side controller. This side controls the high and low beams for the light, and your blinkers, and your horn. So we will obviously no longer have any of those for this bike. But you know what, that's old school styling right there. The old school bikes, if you look at a lot of the choppers and bobbers, they didn't have all these frills on them. They were just really basic, bare bone bikes. And that's what we're going for with this bike. Jeez Louise. How long is this screw? Okay, there we go. One more. So look at what we just shaved off this bike. This big, bulky, yeah, it's not cool. Look how much cleaner that looks now. And I can bring the clutch lever over some more, because right now it's not really in a, geez, it's not in a good position at all. It needs to come over a good couple inches. Okay, over here on the throttle side, first thing we got to do is get this grip off. The technique I've used for years. There's a lot of different ways to do this. These were glued on using hairspray, so I'm just going to take a Phillips screwdriver and wedge it underneath the grip here as far as I can. I'm just going to take a little WD-40, spray it in there, take out the screwdriver, and then just spin the grip right off. And then we'll just unbolt this thing. Alright, so let's remove the stock throttle cables so we can transfer those over to the universal throttle. Hopefully everything fits because these are obviously threaded. But I got the universal throttle. I can't remember where I bought it. It was either over at TC Brothers or Dime City Cycles, one of those two. So let's take these out. Oh, thank God. I was getting worried there. I didn't think it fit. And this has a locking bolt on it. Can't get the end of the cable through the hole, so I might have to drill it a little bit. It's not popping through the hole here. Okay, I was able to get the pull cable through, get this part through the housing, but for some reason the push cable won't fit, so I'm just going to open up the hole a little bit here. There we go. So we got your pull side, and then we got your push side. Alright, before I put this on, I'm going to check the grip length against the throttle tube. And when I hold the grip up here, you can see it's about just under ½ an inch gap between, right here before the grip hits the housing. So I'm going to shorten this tube a little bit so we don't have that gap in here anymore. The other thing you don't want is you don't want the tube to go beyond the edge of the handlebar. I usually like to have my tube just under 1/8 of an inch, beyond the handlebar, so your handle grip isn't rubbing on the end here. So let's just tighten this down. All right, and then we'll just feed the cables through the forks here, and they'll come down here to the carburetors. We'll get that all hooked up. Alright, so you can see here the wheel on the carburetors to pull goes this way. So this cable is going to go underneath this wheel. It's going to drop into this clamp right here. But first let's get it underneath the wheel. It's going to wrap all the way around the bottom of the wheel, and it's going to engage the wheel right here. So it's kind of tricky. There we go. Oh, that wasn't so bad. So it's in the wheel here. The cable wraps around the bottom of the wheel in this groove, and then this cable just drops into this bracket right here. Kind of tighten that down. We have adjustment at this end and at the other end too. So we'll just kind of get the cables in place, and then we'll adjust them after. And then this is the pull cable. This one goes on top. It's going to engage the wheel right here. And then come around. And then comes up from the bottom. It's a little tight. There we go. And there you have it. Sweet! You always worry about buying new cables for these bikes when they're aftermarket. These are Motion Pro cables. You never know if things are going to fit exactly, but I just put these on. I haven't even adjusted them, and they already feel almost perfect. Alright, so I also bought a new choke cable for this bike. The old choke cable was really in bad shape. I can barely even move this thing. It's pretty jacked up. It's pretty stiff. So we have a new choke cable, and that's just going to simply be held in by this bracket right here, and it's going to go, this is the choke right here. This goes on the front side and just engages there. So there's our choke. And then here's the bracket. I just tighten that down with a Phillips screwdriver. For now, I'm just going to snug it down right there. And then if I pull this, you see the choke activates. Look at this, look at that butter action right there. Sweet. Then we'll find a new mounting location for this up near the triple clamps. So what I'm going to do here is, before I put this grip back on, you remember I sprayed WD-40 inside of it. So I just dampen this rag with some gasoline. I have this extension here to push it into the grip. I'm just going to clean that out of there real quick. Some people argue that gasoline will make the grip expand, and if it's in there for a long time, yeah, but I'm just using a very small amount of gas, and it's only in there briefly, so we should be fine. Make sure it's nice and dry inside. Feels great. Last time I put the grips on, I just used some of my wife's hairspray here, so we're just going to spray inside the grip on the tube and slide the grip on real quick, and we should be good to go. Then you just let this sit for a while, let it dry, don't mess with it. It's good to kind of roll it a little bit to get all the hairspray, you know, around the whole area here. Next thing I want to do here is I want to get this lever in the right place. It's way too far in. There's a big gap here. My fingers aren't even lining up with the grip. So that's another good thing about removing this big bulky assembly here, was now I can get this clutch exactly where it should be. My forefinger should be right in this little dip right here. So if I hold my hand there like that, perfect. Got a little nick in the bars right here, so I'll probably have these repowder coated when I get all the other stuff done. Get rid of that, can't have that. Okay, so next I have this universal brake light switch from TC Brothers. Basically what you do is you mount it to your frame right here. You mount this other end here to your rear brake rod. So when you hit your rear brake, it pulls out this plunger and actuates the rear brake light. So the only thing is, these screws are too short. This frame's pretty thick, so these screws are too short. So I just went on down, got some 1.25 inch long screws. So those should do the trick. So let's put this bad boy on right now. Oh my God, sometimes these little nuts just, sheesh. I gotta take this little piece apart here and get this on the shaft first. This on. This thing clamps down. Looks like it was made for a bigger shaft diameter. Look at that, it's not even going to clamp down. What the crappy design is this? Well, I'm going to have to pinch this clamp down a little bit so it's a smaller diameter. Come back and put it back on and see if I can get it to work. Alright, so I took this clamp and I smashed it down a little bit with a hammer, and so that should pinch on this shaft. Let's open it up a little bit so I can get it on the shaft. Okay, well, that's pretty much it. Let's see how it functions. I'm going to push the rear brake. So you can see here the little plunger right here is coming out as I push the rear brake down. So yeah, I mean, it works. We got it working. The reason I had to do that was because this is a whole new rear brake assembly. Because of the hardtail frame, you end up losing all your brackets, all your electronics and all that. So yeah, now we got this whole new system. We'll just wire it up and we're solid. Alright guys, that's a wrap for this video. I know the stuff we did today wasn't like super exciting, but all those little details always seem to take longer than you think. Make sure you come back for the next episode. The bike's already at the fabrication shop. Got even more metal fabrication work to do on this thing. I know, right? Don't forget, if you want to be the coolest guy in town and with this bike, go to the Patreon, support the build series, qualify to win along with a full set of speed and strength riding gear. See ya next episode.